Because the society we live in is devoted to acquiring property and making a profit, we rarely see any evidence of the being mode of existence, and most people see the having mode as the most natural mode of existence, even the only acceptable way of life. All of which makes it especially difficult for people to comprehend the nature of the being mode, and even to understand that having is only one possible orientation. Nevertheless, these two concepts are rooted in human experience. Neither one should be or can be examined in an abstract, purely cerebral way. Both are reflected in our daily life and must be dealt with concretely. The difference between the having and being modes can be easily observed in two examples of conversations. Let us take a typical conversational debate between two men in which A has an opinion X and B has opinion Y. Each identifies with his own opinion. What matters to each is to find better, i.e., more reasonable, arguments to defend his opinion. Neither expects to change his own opinion or that his opponent's opinion will change. Each is afraid of changing his own opinion precisely because it is one of his possessions, and hence its loss would mean an impoverishment. The situation is somewhat different in a conversation that is not meant to be a debate. Who has not experienced meeting a person distinguished by prominence or fame or even real qualities, or a person of whom one wants something, a good job, to be loved, to be admired? In any such circumstances, many people tend to be at least mildly anxious, and often they prepare themselves for the important meeting. They think of topics that might interest the other. They think in advance how they might begin their conversation. They even map out the whole conversation as far as their own part is concerned. Or they may bolster themselves up by thinking about what they have, their past successes, their charming personality, or their intimidating personality if the role is more effective, their social position, their connections, their appearance and dress. In a word, they mentally prepare and balance their worth, and based on this evaluation, they display their wares in ensuing conversation. The person who is very good at this will indeed impress many people, although the created impression is only partly due to the individual's performance and largely due to the poverty of most people's judgment. If the performer is not so clever, however, the performance will appear wooden, contrived, boring, and will not elicit much interest. In contrast are those who approach a situation by preparing nothing in advance, not bolstering themselves up in any way. Instead, they respond spontaneously and productively. They forget about themselves, about the knowledge, the positions they have. Their egos do not stand in their own way. It is precisely for this reason that they can fully respond to the other person and that person's ideas. They give birth to new ideas because they are not holding on to anything and can thus produce and give. While the having persons rely on what they have, the being persons rely on the fact that they are alive, and that something new will be born if only they have the courage to let go and to respond. They come fully alive in the conversation because they do not stifle themselves by anxious concern with what they have. Their own aliveness is infectious and often helps the other person to transcend his or her egocentricity. Thus, the conversation ceases to be an exchange of commodities, information, knowledge, status, and becomes a dialogue in which it does not matter anymore who is right. The duelists begin to dance together. They part not with triumph or sorrow, which they are equally sterile, but with joy.